Hey, what's going on, everyone? Martavius here.
And hey, it's Cash.
And welcome to another edition of
Never
Never
miss
Miss
a
a Monday.
Monday.
All right, so welcome to another episode of Never Miss a Monday. Thank y'all for joining us here for this episode of this podcast, episode number 2. We're already here. I feel like we just started, but we didn't really just start. We've been doing this for a little bit, but we wanted to just go ahead and translate this over to a podcast just to make it more easily accessible to people so they can listen to on their walk, on their jog, on their car ride, or just while they're sitting at home.
Yep. So on today's episode, we are going to be talking about fear. Fear is something that I have dealt with. I'm sure Marty has dealt with. And
Oh, yeah.
Everybody listening, you probably aren't really human if you've never experienced fear before. So we're going to talk about fear and kind of just really break it down, do some dissecting and discuss what is it, how can we overcome it, and why. Why should we even try to overcome our fears? Like, why is it even important?
Yeah, because if we don't attach a why to it, like a reason, we're most likely not going to do it. It's just like habit studies, where if you have a habit and you have this reward at the end, it's this thing you're working towards the end of it. It can be like, I want to gain this much muscle, or I want to, be able to do this XYZ thing in my field, So it's just having that end goal in mind, starting with the end in mind and just working towards that, that'll give you that reason and that push. So that's what we're just looking for here, is just to actually do the things that we need to do, and not being so fearful. So what is fear? When we're talking about fear from a, historical sense, we're talking about, if we're a hunter-gatherer, we're in a tribe, we're in a community, we're trying to survive, and there's a predator, right? That is a legitimate fear, right? A lion is over there, right? Or a tiger or a bear or whatever else that, can cause danger or harm, to you. So, from a early development sense, as far as how we're trying to just survive in the world based on, the tools that we have, the language that we have, how we communicate, and how we can protect ourselves, right? So, if you look at what happens, with the body, usually when you're scared of something, it's probably a shortness of breath thing, like a breathe in, right? A very shallow breathe in, it's just because you need your body to activate and do something, and is getting into that fight or flight response system, right? To where it's more of that sympathetic system. So the sympathetic, again, that's that I'm in shock, I'm drawn back, and you want to run, right? Because if you see a bear walking across you, you oh my gosh, it's a bear. You just start running, because it's that legitimate fear that's there. So, that's like the origins, of it. If we look back at just the history of, we need to survive, and there are things that can really hurt us or harm us, whether it be an animal or another, group of people over there who they don't agree with us on certain things that we do. So it's just a matter of, kind of drawing back.
I love that. And knowing that our fear is so deeply rooted in survival is really the first step to beginning to overcome it. Because like Martavius is sharing, our fear stems from, is this something that's going to take our life away? Fear serves the purpose of alerting you to let you know danger is near, abort mission. But in our common day, it's 2020 at the time of this recording, that fear of danger, that fear of imminent survival is not as a daily thing that we struggle with. We're not necessarily being chased by animals. We're not under the same conditions that we were, where we're looking over our shoulder of what's coming next. So when we start to really look at fear, it's like, okay, well, if it's not, a life or death thing that I'm fearing, what am I actually afraid of? Usually when we experience fear, it's usually in a version of some sort of pain, so when you're looking at how can I overcome this fear? I'm not going to lose my life, but I am afraid of some sort of pain. So maybe it's the pain of judgment. You're afraid of, well, if I do this thing that I'm fearful of, what will people think about me? What will people say? How will people respond? Will people accept me? Will people reject me? There's a level of fear of judgment of, I don't want to do X, Y, and Z. I'm fearful of this because I don't want to be judged. And in some sense, it's like that's going back to that survival of surviving with the community. And of course, if you do the thing that you're afraid of, you're not going to lose everybody that loves you, but the fear of judgment is legitimate. Another thing that you could be afraid of is the fear of failure. You know, what if I do this thing and I don't execute it how I see myself executing it? Or what if I do this thing and I completely bomb it, you know, and I do a horrible job? What if I do this thing and it does, you know, it's a total waste of time, money, effort? It's that fear of pain from failure. And when you're thinking about it in these terms, in the terms of judgment, in the terms of failing, the only way to find out what the outcome will be is to actually try it. And the beauty of, you know, if your fear is the fear of failure, the only way to get better is to try. Literally, the only way to overcome a failure is to fail, to learn, and to try again. And same thing comes with judgment. You know, some people might judge what you have to say or what you put out there, but you were given that message for a reason. There's a reason that there's something on your heart that you want to share, that you want to put out, that you want to create, that you want to expose. And the first time you put it out, you know, you may get a lot of critics who are not for what you're saying, but the next time you put it out, you could have somebody that says, yeah, I'm down with that. Like, that resonates with me. And both of these attempts, whether you're afraid of judgment or you're afraid of failure, the only way to move forward is to do what scares you. And it can be hard. You know, it can be hard to want to overcome the judgment, to overcome the failure, to face it. But the only way to get better and to learn is by going through that experience. There's a beautiful quote that I really like, and I don't remember it word for word, but basically it's to the tune of, the only way to overcome your fear of heights is to climb to the top of the mountain, because once you're at the top of the mountain, you can see views that you've never seen before. And I just love that, because it's like, you know, if you've been to a top, we've seen pictures. I'm sure you've seen a picture. If not, Google picture at the top of a mountain. But the view is just amazing. And it's literally breathtaking. You know, there's nothing that can describe it. There's no picture that can fully capture the moment of looking out on the top of a mountain. And though the journey up the mountain is perilous and hard and scary, you slip on a few rocks, that point at the top makes all of it worth it. And to a certain extent, you almost forget the mountain that you just climbed, because you're so in awe of the beauty at the top of the mountain. And that's essentially how we should start to look at our fears. Is we're afraid of something, it's going to be tough, it's not going to be an easy climb up the mountain, but once we get to that top, the beauty, the breathtaking view is so worth it, you don't even remember the journey getting there. So overcoming your fear is scary. You know, you might be looking at the pain of judgment, you might be looking at the pain of failure, and you're probably going to experience those along the way. It's going to be a climb, but once you get to the top, the reward of of overcoming your fear, being stronger, being, more comfortable in your voice, whether you're an artist or a creative or a speaker or a business owner or a teacher or a mom or a wife or a husband. I know I'm saying a lot of female terms, but I guess I'm a female.
Cool. Yeah.
Business owner, whatever. The reward for overcoming whatever you feel fearful of is going to be worth it because of the view at the top.
Yeah. That's a very powerful statement, babe. I like that. I like that. Yeah, just with a few notes that I had were just, we're talking about the judgment, just the judgment of it and the what if situations. It's like we're creating all these what if. And all the what ifs are playing out to the failure, and it's just like, that's where the fear really kicks in. Cause like this could happen, and we make it so real. And it's studies showing that it was like an ACT studies, from like, that book, from Dr. Stephen Hayes. It's just this thing that we create, and it makes it so big and so grand. It's as if a lion is chasing us, or a tiger, or a bear, or something. We create it in our mind's eye that is so big that, again, we tap into that sympathetic nervous system of like shock and like run away. But it's just like, it's your own thoughts, right? So it's just like, if you can just redirect that, and like you said, get at the top of that mountain, and you'll have that more parasympathetic, like exhale, like that's that signal for your body to like get into relaxation mode. You're safe, you're good. Like, again, you forget the climb, you forget the rocks, you forget, all the struggles of going up the hills and climbing over those things, and those obstacles just being in your way. And it's like, you have to go through it. But once you get at the top view, it's just, again, it's just, like you said, breathtaking. And it in our body, it just gives us that relaxed state. So to get you in a relaxed state, I just say give it a name. Like, give that fear a name. Like, if you know a name of something, you're less afraid of it. If you see something crawling, you're like, there's something over there in the dark. Like this one time, it just takes me back to this one time we were in, I think we went to Asheville for a Spartan race. And we stayed in this house, very lovely home, like great views, all that. It's like they had this huge room. They used it for like yoga, and it was just it was
beautiful.
It was amazing.
It was beautiful.
Yeah.
I won't use the word amazing personally because the experience that is about to be shared, but I will say it was absolutely beautiful. Very serene to a point, very peaceful. Beautiful home.
Very peaceful until
it was in the woods. It was in the woods, and I will pass the baton.
Thank you. So yes, it was in the woods. Again, we were like in a retreat style like place. So we're there, and it was one night. It was just something that was scurrying. Right? It was just scurrying on the floors. It was a dark image. No one knew what it was. They had speculations because we were by the woods that it could be a rat, it could be a mouse, it could be anything, right? And yes, it was like a little mouse. It was like a field mouse or something that is common around that area. So
there was no speculation, guys.
It's like, it could be anything.
It was a little, I don't know, field chipmunk, mouse, I don't know.
But anyway, it's just like the fear that came in because it was an unidentifiable object. It was something that was, just like scurrying around. Again, there are certain attachments that came to that, that fear, that image in the darkness, So it's just the what if situations that came from that, and, in the end, we got it. It went out, all that good stuff. But, just during that time, it's just like, everybody was jumping on tables and chairs. And
yes, I jumped up on a table because, we're talking about overcoming fears, but this is the real world. That fear will be overcome when the threat has been removed.
So the threat was removed, but before the moment where the threat was removed, I remember looking at it and spotting it in the corner, and it was like shaking. It was so scared. So wow, the little field mouse, it was terrified about what was going on. You could just see his little beady eyes, like it was like, please don't hurt me. But all the while, it's like all these adults are just like on tables and chairs because of their fear. So it was just like fear on both sides. And it's just interesting to see how that works to where we play our fears out. We have this what if moment that can lead to something that's, catastrophic, for us, or dangerous, and it can be as if, again, a lion or a bear or a tiger is chasing us, or a field mouse, is chasing us and ready to bite. But it's like, if we meet that fear with a question, we start to ask ourselves different questions. Is this really real? Is this really happening right now? Is this happening to me, or is this happening for me? So just really repositioning your stance based on the questions that you ask. This reminds me of, again, cold showers. Like, it's an uncomfortable thing, but it's one of those things that it's like face the fear, right? It's like if you step in the shower and it's just icy cold, it's like it feels uncomfortable. It feels stressful, for a period of time. But then once you get into your breathing, right, and just keep your breathing consistent, right? Just focus on those deep belly breaths, just focus on a full exhale and a sharp inhale, just to embrace what's about to come. But just really get into that state of just breathing. You don't have to take a cold shower. This is something that I know that works, but you don't have to take that. But just following the metaphor of just facing the fear. But just getting your breath, working out. That's something else that we talk about. But putting yourself under a stressful situation, lifting weights, that can be stressful. Doing some cardio, that can be stressful. But doing it for a period of time just to overcome that fear and just identify with it. So again, give it a name. Just saying, this is what it is. So if your thing is, I don't know, Bob, just call this thing Bob. And when Bob shows up, you have to focus on your breathing. You have to calm down.
Awesome. That was good.
Thanks.
Yeah. So next time Bob shows up, say, you know what, Bob? We are about to release some excitement.
And no offense to anybody who's named Bob who's listening to this, but
yes.
That was just the name.
Yeah. So fear, what is it? It's a survival mechanism. You can start to overcome it by really asking yourself, what are you afraid of? Is it judgment? Is it failure? What kind of pain are you fearing? When you start to think about that pain, embrace it, knowing that it's a mountain that you're climbing. And the reward at the top of that mountain is going to make you forget all of the pain that you experience en route to seeing that beautiful view. And then give it a name. Maybe the name of your fear is Bob. Maybe the name of your fear is Karen. Maybe the name of your fear is Nancy. I don't know. For me, I call my fear excitement. And that helps me to reframe. And it helps me to have a fresh approach to the fear. Instead of being like, I'm so afraid, or even if, because it's a knee-jerk thought, I'm so afraid. It's like, no, I'm so excited. This is excitement. And I'm going to approach this as something that's going to make my experience here while I'm on Earth a little bit better.
And that's what it's all about. All right. Thank y'all. We'll see y'all on the next episode.
Thanks for listening, guys. See y'all soon.